Hey, this is Paul. You're listening to Death Before Desk Job, the podcast geared towards creative people who are pursuing or who would like to be pursuing their creative endeavors to their heart's content. And this week I'm going to do something a little different. I'm not talking to anybody, and I'm not editing this, although I have tried recording it once or twice. It didn't really turn out that great, so I'm trying again. I have no intentions of speaking to anybody this week because, frankly, I'm tired. I thought to myself at the beginning of the week, I'll get my guest list together, and I did. And I have a lot of guests that are lined up because of some submissions that y'all have made. And frankly, I have enough guests on a list that if I did one a week, I'd have content for the better part of a year, if not more. But yeah, I started watching the election things on a Tuesday, and then I told myself, don't get wrapped up in it. We're not going to know for a while. And I knew we weren't going to know for a while, but it was hard not to watch. Any channel that had information on it, I was trying to extrapolate as much as I could. And I definitely got sucked in. I'd rather be paying attention than not, but I do regret getting so entrenched in it. But can you blame me? I'm pretty sure a lot of you are in the same boat because we're scared. A lot of people are really scared. I think most of the people who listen to this show are surprised to figure out that I'm a more progressive leaning person. And I was not a fan of Donald Trump. I don't think I'm saying anything particularly controversial when I say that. I don't think I ever trusted his motives for a second. And even when I did my best to try to wrap my head around what a Trump supporter saw in him, I couldn't process it because none of it made sense. I just saw a compulsive liar. I saw somebody who would say anything to protect their image. And there's not anything I could say that you haven't heard before. All you need to know is that when I heard that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won the election and are slated to be the new president and vice president, respectively, I was overwhelmed with joy at the prospect of not having to spend another 4 years living in an America that I didn't recognize anymore. And I'm hoping that in some respect that things can be better, but I also am a bit of a realist when it comes to these kinds of things, and I don't think that things are just going to disappear. It's pretty obvious to me that things are not going to change. 70 million Americans voted for Donald Trump. The wins were narrow. It's not a landslide. It's an election that was won, and yes, a difference of 4 million votes, which is where it stands, I believe, right now. Difference is not that crazy considering what we're looking at as far as total numbers, which is amazing. This record turnout is amazing. So that showed me some good stuff. It's amazing that we have record numbers. And at the same time, it alarms me that many people doubled down, that many people got on board. I mean, I do wonder if maybe the reason Donald Trump lost is because some conservatives that were on board with some of his policies came to realize that he was not the man he had presented himself to be. And frankly, I don't know how they didn't see it sooner, but that's besides the point. The point is that just because Biden, who is historically a moderate, and Kamala, who was a DA, won the election, doesn't mean that we're going to have some progressive liberal playground. But what it does mean is that we have people in power who are not complete narcissists, megalomaniacs, frankly, divisive characters. At least there's a message of unity. And I never thought I was going to be happy to hear a politician talk. I'm having a hard time processing all of it. And like I said, it hit me very hard. I did cry when I first saw it, because it just felt like all was right. But here's the truth. That's just a feeling. And everything does not get fixed tomorrow. Frankly, we still have 2 more months of Donald Trump in the White House. That's one of my biggest fears, is what can he do? What damage can be done in that time? Because he's shown me that he's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure it's his way. And I don't think that would surprise anybody listening to hear that it may come at their expense. So I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned about the fact that once you put the president and vice president-elect into power, that people are going to go back to normal, whatever good that's worth. Now, trust me, I'm glad that we have people in power who favor science in response to the coronavirus. And I'm glad we have people that openly speak about the race inequality and the systemic racism. I always say systematic. So we talk about things like this, but it's still important to hold these people accountable. It's important to remain active and vigilant. And, like I said, there's still a fight. There's still a lot of people out there who may not feel as validated in publicly spewing hate speech or, actively disenfranchising communities. But I think that overall, there is still a long way to go. And part of that is why I wanted to change the tone of the episode. So here's what I'll try to point out. I would like to touch on the fact that there are things that we can be doing as creatives to push forward and manifest the kind of world that we want to live in. I think that if you are a voice and you vote, that's wonderful. If you are a voice and you can encourage others to vote, that's even better. If you can keep communities informed, whether that be by writing a song or making a poster or something, if you can keep people informed, if you can raise some kind of awareness as to what's going on, then that's a really important job. You as an artist are a communicator. So communicate. Keep people informed as best you can. That would be something I would try to encourage, because one thing I experienced personally, and I'm sure a lot of you have too, I'll try to run this scenario by you. I did my mail-in ballot for this election. So, whether or not that's considered a legal vote by our president is yet to be determined. But I legally mailed in my ballot. And one of the things that dawned on me when I was getting ready to fill it out was I did not know plenty of people on the line, and I did not understand the props. So, you usually go into the booth or get your ballot, and you're going to fill out, like, I know who I want, I'm voting for president, and then you vote the row or whatever, vote the line, as they say. So if you're voting the line, that's good, but it obviously does not hurt to know more about the people who are in that slot, because sometimes people run unopposed and you're just voting for the same person, whatever party you pick. So that's one thing to know. And then there's also the aspect of sometimes, somebody running on one ticket may have a different, belief than what you're for. And it's hard to know that because it's not as widely publicized, it's not as widely talked about. So staying on top of your local stuff is important. And also the props. If you're going into the ballot, you got 5 minutes and you look at the prop on the back, they ask you one run-on sentence with a question mark at the end, and then your answer is yes or no. Do you know what you're voting for or against? I didn't. The only advantage that I had this year with the mail-in ballots was that I was able to take the time and look up what the prop meant. I think locally in my county, there was a surplus of money that was allocated to an environmental cause. I'm speaking sort of ambivalently here. I'm sorry, ambiguously, but there was a surplus of money that was dedicated to an environmental society, and the ballot was talking about reallocating that money to put to use in a sewer system, I believe, or repair the sewer system and to cover certain gaps in because of the deficit that was taking place because of COVID. And that was what I had to infer by going pretty far into the woods on the internet, just looking for an explanation of what this was. And that it's not always clear, and you need to do some homework in that respect. If I learned anything this cycle, it's go online before the election and figure out what's on the ballot. And it's not always easy to do, but you can always contact your board of elections. And I would encourage people to do at least that going forward in the future, just so you can know what's going on. I would also, like to remind people that the next election is not in 4 years. There are elections that come up before. So please go to your local town, your county, your state, look up the elections and get the information, because you can be taking part in the process earlier than just after 4 years. And that's going to be my little pledge to myself. I did vote in the midterms, but I'm going to do my best to do more of that. Let's see what else. Oh, here's something. This is really what I wanted to get into. This actually is what gave me the idea to do the show this way this week. So I wanted to talk about what we should expect from a Biden presidency and how that impacts people like us. When I say that, I mean freelancers, independents, people who are making their own path and probably running their own business, things of that nature. So you're going to hear me moving the mouse and clicking a little bit just because I'm going to try to pull something up. Okie doke. I think this is it. All right. So I went on Biden's site just to look at the campaign site and see what information was on there. And what I found was under the, under his policies or whatever, I found highlights from the Biden-Harris plan to rescue and revitalize Main Street. So this is about the economy, right? And this page is largely him going on and on about things that Biden has urged President Trump to do. Example, here's a line. Biden has urged President Trump to get off the golf course and provide immediate relief to struggling small businesses. And of course, he hasn't, right? So it says here that Biden has released detailed proposals to set up equitable small business support and outlined an ambitious restart package to help them reopen. Now, that really refers to COVID, but let's see the equitable small business support has, right? So the bold ideas: establish a true small business fund to keep well-off business owners from using any program to unjustly enrich themselves, make sure programs' terms actually help small businesses, and providing a guarantee that every qualifying small business will get relief rather than capping the fund in a way that forces small firms to compete against one another. Those are the bullet points, but let's click that and see what that says. Now, I'm going to take a look here. So it says establish a true small business fund. Basically, if I peruse this very quickly, it says we should make sure we serve the mom and pop shops. Back in April, Joe Biden asked the administration to produce a weekly dashboard to show which small businesses are accessing loans to make sure that the program isn't leaving out communities, minority and women-owned businesses, or the smallest businesses. They have not done so. So, yeah, Trump, of course, would not supply this information, nor would his administration. However, supplying that information is not all there is. It's good that you want to see that, but you have to actually do something about it then. And if I go down a little further, here we go. It says, make sure that the program's terms actually help small businesses. So here's the line. Joe Biden would also support further rule changes that the PPP that would ensure deserving small businesses get all the help they need for as long as they need, including providing a guarantee that every qualifying small business will get relief rather than capping a fund in a way that forces small firms to compete, authorizing more generous loans that allow small businesses in need to keep workers on the payroll and cover fixed costs during the duration of the crisis, and extending the 8-week limitation so that payroll forgiveness continues for the duration of the crisis. So, okay, it says that he would support it, but it doesn't say that he's going to do it. And then now listen, this is a semantic thing, right? I understand that might be a semantic thing. However, that could be a loophole, a lot of politicians come in and say they're going to do a lot of things and they don't do them. Now, here's the thing. Before that, we had that view of politicians. Then we had Donald Trump, who we were alarmed by. And now we're jumping in the streets over a politician again. So just don't forget the fact that he is, in fact, still a politician and he needs to be held accountable. And that's where you come in, right? Do what you can to try to propose and fight change where it's relevant. So one of the things I spent a lot of time looking up after the initial shock wore off, I just typed in Joe Biden freelancers and Joe Biden independent contractors just to see what came up. So a lot of things came up, and this is interesting. It's worth mentioning. You're gonna hear some more clicking in the background. Don't mind me. So Joe Biden, he supported an act called the PRO Act, and on an article dated October 27th of this year from atr.org, which I'm not sure what that is. It's just one of the first things that came up. So I don't know if it's a credible source or not. That's just something worth noting. It says that he vows to impose the PRO Act, which threatens your livelihood. So I tried to look up what the PROS Act is, just objectively. The Protecting the Right to Organize Act restores fairness to the economy by strengthening federal laws that protect workers' rights to join a union. So, why is that bad? Well, here's where things kind of get a little complicated, and this is my best attempt at trying to explain what I've been able to gather, and I could be wrong. So please do your own research. That's super important. But if I had to look at this as an example, there was a thing in California, I believe it was Prop 22, that had to do with Uber and how Uber and Lyft treated their employees as independent contractors. And they were trying to get them to treat their employees as employees because people are, not getting insured. And it's a loophole. It's a thing that I've been subject to as well. I worked for a company where I was an independent contractor, so I couldn't get any of the the benefits and stuff because it saves the company money, yada, yada, yada. So a lot of people do that. And I understand the logic of supporting an act like that, that gives people the ability to, I'm going to start the sentence over. I understand the value of supporting the right to unionize. And for the people who need it, i.e. something for Uber and Lyft, where people are working all the time for these companies and, they are not getting things. Now, at the same time, it's a choice that people make to do that. And also, the question is, why does that affect? This is the question I have. So this is not a question I have an answer to, is how could that negatively impact me? Right? Now, that's the thing. There's not a lot of information that I can readily find, because I feel like there aren't too many people Googling, I'm a Joe Biden voter, what happens now that I'm a graphic designer? And then somebody's got a very clear, direct answer. I have yet to find it. My point is that I'm actively trying to understand what the repercussions of Biden presidency mean for me. And it's something that you should actively investigate to protect your own livelihood. And if you support it, you should make people aware of it, because if it's not on the national news, a lot of people don't know about it. And if you have something against it, you should go out and alert people and raise awareness. Sign a petition, create a petition if one doesn't exist. And again, use your own creative means of output to bring awareness to your community. Get involved in your community and understand your local politics. I think I've already touched on that. I think that kind of covers the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk about. I just want to say this. I am thrilled that we do not have a lunatic in the White House anymore. I am thrilled that we had a historic election with record turnout. I'm glad that a VP is a woman, is Black, is South Asian. I'm thrilled about all of that. However, the fight doesn't stop. Half the country is not about this. And the hate doesn't go away. The anger doesn't go away. The dirty politics don't go away. There's a lot that still needs to be addressed. And I just want you to appreciate what just happened. And I want you to remain engaged. And this is sort of advice that I'm trying to take as well, because I tend to be like everybody else and get kind of sucked up in my own world and not really stay current. I am not interested in becoming a political pundit. This is probably not going to be a common type of episode, although I would like to do more episodes that get into specifics on certain topics. But I don't know if I want to get into the mechanics of politics every episode, because I'm not a poli-sci guy, and I do my best, but you should take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I wish more people in the industry of sharing political news would say that. I'm not an authority. You should consult authorities, and you should vet them and confirm your biases. I'm sorry, don't confirm your biases. You should actually just try to find the information and do your homework, is what I'm trying to say. And just because we're here doesn't mean that it's all over. I mean, think about this. Donald Trump's son has been groomed for this job. So there's always 2024. And as terrifying as a notion as that is, it, I mean, unless the whole family gets arrested for criminal activity in the White House, I mean, he could be out for 2024. There are other elections that Republicans did very well in. And, just because you have a liberal president, or I can't even say a liberal president, just because you have a Democrat as president doesn't mean you are running around in a progressive utopia now. It means you have someone in your corner, and you should make sure that they do their best while they're in that corner. And you should do your best to make sure that the world we're living in is one that you want to live in, and you can do it. I think that about covers it. This is a long time to talk to myself. I guess if you have any information, meaning I've said something incorrect, or something I said has led you down a rabbit hole that you've explored on your own, and you'd like to share your finds with me, please do. You can contact me, deathbeforedeskjob.net, or you can go to deathbeforedeskjob@gmail.com and email me there. I would happily take any feedback and any information that y'all have. While you're on the site, by the way, deathbeforedeskjob.net, you can support the show by visiting the shop. You can support by shopping through our links on the links page, signing up for our Patreon, my Patreon rather. And let's see, anything else? One of my guests from a few weeks ago, James Quapis, wrote a lovely new bio about the show, and it's on the About page. It's more of an essay, but I kind of wanted something that was a little more robust for somebody who might have just stumbled onto the site. So it was a really good piece. I liked what he wrote, and I thought it was really well crafted, so you can check that out on the About page. And is there anything else worth mentioning? I guess that's it. I'll be back next week with an episode with a guest, something more traditional format-wise. But I didn't want to not say anything. And I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we're okay. Here's hoping that you are all okay. And we're going to make it. Talk soon.